we're in conversations with Hickenlooper and Bennett to come in and discuss some of these issues we're going to be going over tonight. So I think we're at a time where we're kind of at a convergence, just kind of like a convergence of technologies. We have the technologies, we have the solutions, we might have the political will to really do some great things. So I'm excited. We've been working on this presentation in Pueblo's energy future, and we've been talking about what are some good outcomes for Pueblo. So that's kind of where this presentation was developed, and REOCA is a major sponsor. So we're going to talk about three topics: kind of define the problem, talk about the solution, and then talk about what actions we need to take. So we're in the middle of a climate crisis. We're not calling it climate change, we're calling it climate crisis because we have a little opportunity to, if we can't waste time, we need to take action now. And what this graph is showing is that we have kind of a path to take, which is the lower blue kind of shaded path. If we take, and this is kind of along the same lines as the Paris Climate Agreement, if we take this path of only allowing 1.5 degrees C of climate change, we don't have a lot of time to mitigate the crisis. If we don't do anything, we're gonna see upwards of 5 degrees Celsius, and we already see today what's happening. So this is the call to arms, right? This is why we're doing all this, is because we've been putting greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, and those gases reflect heat back in to the earth, and we're warming. I didn't really think that in my lifetime I would have to see the things that are happening, but this could be bad for everyone, right? If we don't do anything. I mean, it's here now. So one thing, the folks in the West, we know this. Water is really the precious resource. It's not fossil fuels, it's water. And the population of the West lives off the snow melt from the mountains. And the snowpack, has been in decline for quite a while. So this kind of sets up another issue, and we're seeing this now. So with these higher temperatures, we're seeing severe droughts, and it's really happening in the West. With these droughts, our water needs go up significantly. And with droughts, we see forest fires and poor air quality. We're experiencing this now, real time, right? I thought, the West is on fire. This is a kind of a real-time map that kind of shows where all the fires are burning. This was done on the 24th of July, but we see in the news every night that these fires are devastating. I mean, we're seeing fire tornadoes inside fires now. We're seeing all kinds of crazy stuff because of severe droughts. We need more water, more intense forest fires, and our air quality is suffering. As you know, in Pueblo, when you take a walk, you see the smoke haze. So in Colorado, the greenhouse gas emissions by sector, we can see that the electric generation is a major contributor. And we can see that the EVs are major contributors. Now, there are other things, industrial energy, which includes oil and gas, and this is the production of oil and gas. These others here are really the use of oil and gas. Buildings, important sector, and non-energy like agriculture and other industries. So that's kind of the problem. What are the solutions? Well, you know, we're in a wonderful time because we have a great solution, and it's called renewable energy. And what we can see here in this graph is kind of showing the levelized cost of energy. That solar and wind are the cheapest form of electric generation. Natural gas is you know, kind of the next geothermal. Coal is much more expensive, and nuclear is really outrageously expensive. So PV, solar, and wind, low cost. Pueblo has some of the best insulation, meaning that we get some of the best sunshine here. So we're a great place to build out solar farms, and that's what we're seeing happen. What would be so we're seeing that this solar and battery could actually replace the tax base over time, you know, and the nice thing is it's safe and it's sustainable. So you set those panels out, they generate electricity, no pollution, truly renewable energy. You let the wind generate power, no pollution, renewable energy. Now, we're mentioning nuclear because some of the county folks had brought this discussion in. But why would we want nuclear? You know, the big issue is with nuclear waste and storage. It's a major problem. For example, plutonium-239, the half-life is 24,000 years. Are we setting ourselves up for generations? You know, this is 2021 AD, you know, I mean, 24,000 years from now, we're going to still be dealing with this stuff. I don't think that's really a good solution. Also, like I said earlier, from a business standpoint, it's a terrible solution. It's 3 times more expensive than solar and wind. And if you go back and look at the history of nuclear power plants, cost overruns and long delays are common. They're typical of the process. They're not the exception. They're kind of the way things work. And even though, you know, they call the new generation low water use, the problem is you still need to store that nuclear waste, and typically you start in 60 meters of water. Raj, you had a question? If you're going to mute yourself.
Let's see if I can do that. Okay, so I want to be informed, and there are a lot of informed people that believe nuclear is part of the solution, that it is a strategy that is valid. And I want somebody to explain to me, just tell me their point of view. I don't even understand how it's possible that's possible, but maybe it is. I don't know. Are we being too narrow-minded? I don't know.
Well, Raj, I don't have the answer for you on that. Okay, I'm kind of speaking to Pueblo. Okay, that it's really not something that we need here in Pueblo. Okay, you could argue that you don't need it anywhere. I'm not going to make that argument per se. I'm going to base it on the health issues and the safety issues of nuclear. It's kind of like I put up here. Choice of last resort. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the nuclear topic, by the way. I wanted to bring it up because it you know it hits a lot of nerves, right? I just don't think it's something that we need here in Pueblo. Manny?
I think it is important to challenge the people who are promoting this nuclear option
Yes.
with a very simple challenge. Let's assume that Pueblo needs, I don't know, 300,000 kW energy to sustain its energy needs. Let's put a challenge to them. How much would it cost to do it with solar, wind, and battery to meet that challenge as opposed to what they're proposing? It's very simple.
Okay, so
once
so,
we put the
yes.
numbers down with this guy, especially, I guess if we're going to talk about the county, we need to mention commissioners' names, and I think it's important that what's his name is on board. I forget his name right now, but the conservative
Ortiz.
guy,
Ortiz?
Ortiz.
Yeah, so you know, and I'll present the picture in later slides about why this doesn't make sense. I mean, if you were a business person and you were making a widget, would you make your widget 3 times more expensive than your competition? Would you make your widget create all kinds of environmental damage? I think the answer is no, right? Anyway, so even though they they claim that these new reactors are better, they kind of base them on the same same technology. Nuclear power is not is a base load. It's not dispatchable, meaning that you can't turn it on instantly. It's going to take days to bring up if you had it first started. So it's not, it's a base load. It's always there, except when it's not. And our premise is Pueblo doesn't need any more long-term health issues, right? We don't need to introduce ourselves into radioactive material simply because the waste has to be stored on site. There's no national policy for waste storage. It's on site. So once you build a nuclear reactor, and that's what this picture shows, is a Palo Verde in Arizona, that the waste is stored in these cement silos, and a lot of the property there is waste. Okay, going on to the next topic. We know this is coming too. EVs are going to replace the internal combustion engine, electric vehicles. Toyota has said that 70% of their vehicles will be EVs by 2030. And the picture on the left kind of shows, it's not a time chart, but it kind of shows the cost of batteries and kind of their energy density. And the volume of batteries being produced. So, this is kind of a economics of scale. It's also learning, but we're coming down this really fast learning curve, okay? If you look at this graph, it's about 140, actually today, this graph doesn't show it, in 2021, lithium ion in the US is about $140 per kilowatt hour. The kind of the golden number that people talk about is $100, and that's already achieved in China. So we're a little bit behind China in this technology. So what do we need to do? Okay, we need to electrify everything. Okay, our future is going to be everything is electric. Transportation, buildings and homes, manufacturing. This transition will occur over the next couple of decades. So by 2040-ish, we're going to be 100% electric. You're not going to be using natural gas to cook on. You're not going to be using natural gas, period. You're not going to be using any petroleum products other than maybe oil, to lubricate things. And maybe that's even synthetic. So the thing is, we need to be aware of this and act now. Also, another thing about Pueblo is there's a just transition for Pueblo. And this is where some government help is out there already. So we need to take advantage of this. We're a disproportionately impacted community. They put Comanche plant in Pueblo for a specific reason, because Pueblo had clean air, and Denver didn't. Denver uses all that power. I guess some of that power went to Evraz, but it was built here because we had clean air, and obviously that hasn't helped our air. It's made it much worse. The idea of keeping Comanche open, until 2040 is not going to happen. We can kind of see the convergence of climate is going to cause coal to be shut down, and also coal mines are going bankrupt. So that coal supply is going to be limited. What those mines are going to be used for is metallurgical grade coal to make steel. But other than that, we're not going to be burning coal to make our generation. We can't because of the greenhouse gas issue. Excel is also part of this transition. They need to help. They put this in our backyard. They need to pay to transition us out of coal too. So, the big issue with Pueblo County is the tax base and the Comanche plant a contribution to the tax base. But I think with state, federal, and industry, those financial issues can be minimized. So we as Pueblo really need to act proactively in Excel ERP that's going on this fall, to ensure that they do their fair share and not say we're going to keep it open until 2040, because that's just not reality. So how do we make Pueblo's tax base sustainable? I think we have the opportunity to build out a lot of renewable energy, and what this graphic shows, this is from the Excel ERP, and when they bid out power generation, they didn't restrict it to solar or wind or natural gas, but what happened was that a lot of solar bids came in, and you can see that this clustering here in Pueblo County around that transmission line, there was a lot of solar bids, and actually, the companies that won, put in their operations for this bid. The point of this being that Pueblo is a great place for solar, and I think renewables can basically replace that Comanche plant. Now, this is not just a Pueblo problem. This is a world problem. Okay. We, as citizens of the United States, can address this. But the bottom line is that we're going to need so much solar and wind to meet this demand that we're going to need to make the product, the PV panels, the wind generators, all the components, and out of the 350 New Mexico presentation, Tom Solomon estimated that we need to build 349 gigafactories. These are gigantic factories, okay? They'll probably be clustered in certain areas. Well, my point is, let's get that one of those clusters to be here in Pueblo County. That could solve our economic problems for Pueblo, okay? Right there. The other side of the going all electric is the demand side management, right? We need to be preparing our homes to be energy efficient. to weatherize them, right? The Pueblo County has a wonderful program that they're doing where they come in and weatherize a home for low and moderate income. This is all government funded, mostly federal. And they just had a little increase in this, but they can only do 200 homes. Pueblo has an inventory of 26,000 homes. And if you do the math a little bit, that's at their current rate, that's going to take 100 years. We need to do this in about 10 or 15. So let's say we need to do this 10 times as much, right? We need to do 2,000 homes. That could generate a lot of jobs right there. And then there's all the other buildings that we have in a city in the United States, right? Now I'm just saying in Pueblo alone, this would create a workforce of people that once they're through that building inventory, by the time that's done in 2040, ish, the technology's changed and we'll need to do it again. So that effort to lower, and make us more energy efficient is a kind of ongoing thing. So I think these jobs will be sustainable. Earlier, I was talking about these gigafactories. Okay, if you look at this chart, to replace the this is a U.S. chart. So we need to build out 4,545 gigawatts of energy in the United States. If you look at this, and the solar, this is half wind, half solar. Just kind of an estimate of where you draw the line. To build out just that solar, what that number means is that we'd have to put a 300 megawatt solar array up every day until 2040. Okay, so it's a massive problem. Okay, to get those solar panels, we're going to need to build them. To get those power generators, we're going to need to build them. So there's a gigantic opportunity, and we're saying let's take advantage of that for Pueblo. So let's attract these businesses to Pueblo. Let's get a PV solar manufacturer. Let's create some of those gigabit factories in Pueblo. Likewise, battery manufacturing. Right now, lithium ion seems to be, the storage technology, but it may change. It may go to iron air type batteries. There might be a better battery for grid storage. EVs will probably be this lithium ion, but maybe we could even get an EV manufacturer in Pueblo. So what about all the steel that goes into all these ground mount systems for solar? We've got a steel mill here. Maybe they can move away from tubing that's used in the fossil fuel industry to mounting systems, for example. I always thought, because my background is in semiconductors, the semiconductor industry over the last 30 years went to this model of foundry, to where there's these gigantic factories that build everything. And the monster of them all is TSMC in Taiwan. So all our electronic stuff, most of our advanced electronics comes out of Taiwan. We might want to think as a country for selfish reasons that maybe we should get some of that back in the United States. Pueblo would be a great place, okay? And what makes Pueblo great is that we actually have the water resource to handle some of this industry, right? Rather than wasting it on fossil fuel and coal, we could use it to to help manufacture some of this. And typically these industries practice very green techniques. They're pretty respectful about the environment if done correctly. The side effect of getting these factories in would be a highly educated workforce of thousands of people. And I think that would drive a lot of improvements in our community too, because the demand for better schools, demand for more education would also be out there. Actually, this is the last thing. What can you do today? So when it comes to the Excel ERP, you can maybe make a public comment with the PUC. You can contact the county commissioner and tell them, hey, this nuclear idea is crazy. We don't want it. We don't need it. You can write a LTE or op-ed at the newspaper. Any of the above. And that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
You had the call to action up there very briefly, like write a letter to the editor, and you mentioned about nuclear. Are there any other things we should be doing here or that we can enumerate so I have an idea? What to
Yeah,
say?
Roz, we just put this slide in the deck. So
Okay,
I think right now, well, I didn't talk about this, but in the REOCA group, we did send out kind of a call to action to folks. The county is looking to implement some amendments into that would affect solar permitting, like the size of a plant and things like that. That's going forward. We asked them to kind of hold off and get more input. It didn't happen, so that vote goes up next month on I think it's the 15th. We really need to make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot in Pueblo by stopping some solar farms that could otherwise be put in. Now,
right.
on the opposite side, we need to make sure that we're respecting the environment when we build these things. So some of the things that the permit brings in is actually good. It's asking for the owner of the farm to make sure that when they retire that plant, that they recycle the solar panels and all that. So the solar recycling thing, became a big issue. I think that the fossil fuel companies kind of brought this up, but it's a solvable thing. And if you research it a little bit, it's actually going to create another industry to reuse all this stuff, right? Because the glass, the aluminum frames, the back panels, the wires, all recyclable.
You don't mention Black Hills at all in this thing. Isn't this a 500-pound gorilla that we need to talk about? Because, we're stuck with them, for at least another 5 years, and I doubt seriously we're going to take another action after what happened in, our last effort against them. And they continue to push conventional sources of electricity. We're going to be fighting them.
Well, we do have high prices for our power, right? There's no question about that. We're one of the more expensive places if you're in the Black Hills system. But they've signed up for 100% renewables by 2035 for the city, and they're committed to that. Now, of course, any investor-owned utility is going to be committed to delivering what the community wants. It's just that the customers are going to pay for it. So that's what we have to be careful about, right? They're building this 200 megawatt facility, Turkey Creek off of Highway 50. It's supposed to go operational in 2023. The construction of it should be starting pretty soon, I think, or next 6 months or so. My point being is that the load in this Black Hills system is 400 megawatts approximately, maybe a little less than that. Their plans are to build more solar and wind. They have to meet that 100% renewable. So I think that their entire system will be renewable. Now, they do have this natural gas plant. I think that natural gas plant will actually be helpful in this transition, right? If we do it right, potentially we could use that natural gas to kind of offset the Comanche plant, and maybe lower our prices.
I know there are Colorado companies that are doing battery research of a very advanced level, way beyond lithium ion technology. And I was wondering how problematic, or not so much problematic as helpful, would be to bring some of their representatives to Pueblo to give a presentation about one of the, like you're saying, we need factories in Pueblo. We need manufacturing capability in Pueblo. So these people up north that are doing such good research perhaps are at the point almost of going to production. And that would be an opportunity here in Pueblo to have cutting edge battery manufacturing right here, aside from our solar and wind.
I won't argue with that. I think that's a great idea. So, I think what we wanted to do was kind of bring, this plan was a high level plan. Okay. We tried to stay fairly high, I guess, I like going in the weeds a lot, but, because I like to talk about the technology things are made out of. But the hope is that we can convince the local politicians and the economic development engine in Pueblo to go after some of these things. Okay, today, if you haven't heard, this $3.5 trillion infrastructure plan got approved by the Democrats. At least they came together on this. So that money is going to be for the for green energy, a lot of it, a big portion of it, which is why we wanted to talk to Hickenlooper and Bennett, is to make sure that we got some of that share in Pueblo, and maybe that means bringing a battery company in to do this work. So, or a PV manufacturer.
I think what we need to do is promote Pueblo as the magnet for a conglomerate of technologies that are going to come together to solve our climate crisis.
Right.
We are going to be, Pueblo has to be the leading community that brings together all these different aspects that are necessary. Now that we have, Vestas had sold to the South Koreans who are poised to make it bigger. Now that we have other opportunities to bring, like you said, federal money from that $3.5 trillion package that the Democrats passed, Pueblo can shine as the leader, as the maker, Jane, the maker.
I think that's our hope.
Manny would like to have some boiler text letters
Yeah.
on the REOCA website to get people rolling on writing a letter of support, or to discuss nuclear, or support of like the idea of electrifying everything using the county weatherization program, and getting more people involved in that, and utilizing the funds that are the federal funds that are available. And would we miss out on those if they weren't specifically applied for? Probably.
Yeah.
They need to.
Right. So I think, we need to be on the ball, right? Basically that, if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Right. And
so we need to make sure that we ask.
I think both the, as you said, the county commissioners who oversee the county weatherization program need to be aware of the funds that could be available, the possibility of, jobs to, right now, there's a guy that's ahead of that weatherization plan, and I don't know how many employees he has. Do you, Ken, like maybe 10? Something like that?
I don't know, I mean, they work more than just Pueblo County too, right?
Yeah,
work-
they have a number of counties.
So, but if we could take that model and grow it, right?
Mhm.
Then, those are union jobs too.
Yeah, utilizing, federal funds
Yeah.
as appropriate. And I don't know who they're, I don't know if these are considered grants that but they need to know that that's a great idea. And I think they need to know more about that idea. I've only seen that guy one time, that he showed up on the Pueblo County Energy Plan. Can't remember the name of that group.
Yeah, we had PEF. We actually had that organization come in and talk to us, right? And they gave us
Oh, did you?
they gave us an overview of all the they have several different programs going on. Some for low income, some for medium income, and it's really a great program because they take in they kind of use building science to drive it, right? What do I need to do to make this home efficient?
Mhm.
The point is that we're going to need all of us are going to need to do this, right? We need to make our homes much better because if you don't, you're going to be wasting energy and it's going to be electricity, and electricity is kind of expensive here. So unless we come up with a good solution to lower it, especially the low income is going to be impacted by electrification, right? We can probably all survive, but low income folks are going to get really hurt by this. So that's kind of why kind of an energy justice issue, right? That we need to make sure that we take care of everybody on this transition.
This is Ted Lopez. Let me make a comment that I'm going to guess that any money that might be allocated through this $3.5 trillion bill would be allocated to the states from the federal government.
Mhm.
States would allocate by county. And then the county, and I think what has happened in the past, the county then would allocate, and probably even the city of Pueblo would have an opportunity to allocate their share of these allocations to different projects. As I recall, I think the county has on their website a question for individuals to provide input as to how any monies might be used, ideas from the community.
Mm.
So I think this presentation that you've gotten, thinking along the lines how the money should be allocated from top to bottom, that is from the federal government to the local governments, then we should be, based on your presentation, thinking ahead as to what we would want to do, how we would want to put pressure. I don't like that word pressure, but think about when this might happen, have our plan in mind, how we're going to try to press our elected officials on how to allocate this money along these lines.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ted. I think we need to start working on these things. So that's kind of why we wanted to kind of roll out, kind of seed the ideas, right, and then get the right people kind of working on the problem. Okay, because I see this from federal on down. We have this convergence of technology. We've got this renewable technology that's a great solution. It's ready to go, and it's cheap. Okay, we we're in a period where the government is helping on this infrastructure, right? They're gonna fund a lot of it because they have to, right? I mean, we see that, you know, this climate crisis is going to be catastrophic. If we thought this pandemic was a bad thing, the climate crisis is going to make it seem minuscule. And if we can get all this set up in the United States and operational, then we can help with the rest of the world, right? I mean, once we're done with the build out of the United States, we could build out the rest of the world. So it would be
Alex has a question.
a gigantic economic driver for us. Okay, Diane.
Thanks, Di. I actually have a comment or,
So let's go with Diane first, then we'll get you.
okay, sorry, Diane, I didn't know you had a question.
No, Roz, I was saying you wanted to talk, is what I
Oh,
said.
Thank you, that's what I thought. Okay, so I'm thinking that, you know, there's a lot going on around CD3 and CD4. I don't know if that's been decided now, but perhaps one of the candidates would embrace this issue as their own. I mean, Scott Tipton rode the veterans all the way to the House, so and he did come through. I mean, I'm not saying that was one thing he did do, was took care of the veterans, but perhaps someone could make this their issue. You know, it seems to me Sol would be a perfect person to do it because of the energy justice thing, and she's partway there. She understands the issues, you know, so maybe you could run this presentation by her or give her a synopsis, Ken. You know, it might be something she wants to put into her platform, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to record this too, right? Was to, you know, to be able to kind of get the message out to other people so they could watch a half-hour video and kind of get the gist of what we're trying to do, right? Now, can Pueblo Energy Future do this by themselves? No, because, you know, we're just a handful of people, right? I mean, we're trying to come up with the ideas. Can REOCA do this by themselves? No, because we're just a handful of people. We really need to get this message into other organizations, right? So we're going to take this to PEDCO. We're going to take it to the county commissioners. We're going to take it to the city. Joe Wanaka and myself were both part of this energy advisory commission with Pueblo. I'm trying to get this presentation on there, maybe by having a video out that we can show a few people that'll get them excited about this. So I think it's an exciting time, right? This convergence of things. If we take advantage of it, we can solve a massive problem, and we could everybody could prosper from this, right? There's no socioeconomic level that couldn't prosper from this. Think about it. You know, I mean, if you want this presentation to go into other organizations, let us know. We'll push it out. If you have ideas of how to, like Roz, you're talking about, you know, getting some congressional candidate, kind of this being their bully pulpit, right? Great idea.
I believe two critical elements in this campaign that we need to get converted on our side are Dania and the Senator Leroy Garcia, because they are both from Pueblo and they can both understand how Pueblo can again become the leading steel city of the future.
I don't disagree. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, right? It's going to be painful for the folks in the fossil fuel industry. It's going to be painful for the folks that their business is associated with fossil fuel, you know, like oil change companies or even maybe gas stations, automobile repair. It's going to change a lot. So those folks are going to have to transition into new jobs. Just like, you know, like we saw at the turn of the century, when autos replaced horses, right? Um, it also created this fossil fuel problem that we're in, but at the time we didn't know.
We could put a page out there for you to have a boilerplate information to send to the PUC and to the commissioners and the mayor and whoever else you want to send it to. Just give us a little time and we'll do it.
Thanks for attending. If you want to share some feedback with me, I'd appreciate it. On ways I can improve, or we can improve this presentation. If there's some things that need to be sharpened or anything, just let me know. Okay.
Ken, before you go, I just want to remind the group that we've had information like this in the past. I think back to the Bring Power Home 2020 campaign. I think we had someone present on the future of electrical vehicles. I think it was done at a presentation on the fourth floor of the library.
That was probably REOCA, right? We had a presentation on EVs.
Yeah. So then I think we had a discussion or a presentation or an article that someone had written about coal-fired power plants in relation to Comanche plant. And I think that individual had mentioned Pueblo. I think Manny had mentioned that we should take this opportunity to promote Pueblo as, let's say, the center for this type of industry that you were talking about. And I think that was mentioned in this particular article. And then I think in the last month or two, then we had this presentation on nuclear, which surprised the heck out of me. But anyway, these topics that you're bringing forward this evening, they're not new. We've had information in the past, and I think it kind of ties it all in.
Right, and that was kind of the point, right? Is this convergence of technology and time and support, right? So you could have these good ideas. I mean, solar was a great idea. We knew about this climate. We've been dealing with this climate crisis. I've been hearing about it all my adult life. So it's not a new thing, right? And it would have been nice if we could have done this back in 1980, but we didn't have the renewable technology. It was expensive at that time, right? Sure, we probably did other things. Conservation is a big part of it too. That hasn't really worked well for the United States because if you look at the autos that people drive, it's these gigantic trucks, and everybody, we're moving to trucks, right? So it's not the most energy efficient way of moving people around, right? But with EVs, I think that changes. So anyway, thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and close this meeting. And I thank you all for attending.
I want to say it was nice to see a lot of familiar faces. Haven't seen them for months.
Yeah, Ken, thank you so much for your leadership on all this, and it's great to see you all.
Thanks, David. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Night.